Welcome to another episode of Routes Through Pokemon Adventures. I'm Ruby.
I'm Sherlock.
And together we are a father-daughter duo going through the mainline game series, the Pokemon anime, and the Pokemon Adventures Manga. This week we are covering 8 episodes of the anime, starting with Season 4, Episode 34, through Season 4, Episode 41. But before we head into that, let's catch up where we're at in life. So what have you been up to?
Let's see. Well, it's been a little crazy. This episode is the one that we're recording out of order, so it's been a while since we could record this. So this is going to go up shortly after recording it, actually, which is not the norm. We have the episode after it already recorded.
Everything was against this episode.
It really was. Maybe we should just scrap it completely and just skip this group of episodes.
I mean, might as well. I mean, that's what they do with some things, like the Safari Zone. They're like, no, we're out of the Safari Zone.
Yeah. But besides that, like, during this month, I took your brother Favai out on his birthday date, or his half-birthday date, because that's when I get him to do that. And
it makes it sound like you're divorced or something.
It does. That's not how I meant that. But I get the girls on their birthdays and the boys on their half birthdays for a birthday date, and my wife does the opposite. So we went and saw Dogman, which was fine. Well, nothing to write home about for me, but I'm not big into the series. But it wasn't torture to sit through it. But in the process of that date, we also did some Pokemon Go, Baba and I, which was good because there was a quest on there, the timed research, that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get to do because it involved like making sure you collect enough power points and hit enough and defeat enough of those places and catch enough of those Pokemon. And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't been able to spend enough time in town to do any of that stuff. Well, we did right before the movie, in between eating and the movie.
Nice.
So I was able to finish that. And also, I think it might have been that day or it might have been a little after that. I don't know. Sometime recently-ish in the month, I have caught a new shiny Pokemon for me. And that's Carvana, the like piranha-looking fish. It looks pretty cool in the shiny form of Carvana. Hopefully it's good when I evolve it to Sharpedo. But
I think I can picture it.
So there's that. Valentine's Day is just around the corner.
Fun.
So I was writing a story for the kiddos because Rosella really liked it when I did that a couple of years ago, and I skipped a year or something in there, and was very grumpy about that. So
you did it last year.
I did not. I did it 2 years ago.
How old is? But he's just turned 1. Oh, so that doesn't mean he was born 9 months ago.
And I wrote that epilogue months later.
I know, but still, it was like... But you did the epilogue the same year you did the Valentine story.
Correct.
So I was like thinking that they went hand in hand, but yeah. I guess a couple years ago makes sense.
Yeah. So then she was really hoping I would do it last year, but I had a lot going on, and especially with the new baby on the way, that I didn't... Like, I don't even think... I think we even skipped an episode. Or no, the episode came out, like, late because of his birth or whatever. So I had way too much going on to even get a story written for V-Day. So, I'm back at it this time, although I made it less difficult for me this year, because last time I wrote, like, a story for everybody in the family. Like, a piece of the story for everybody in the family, and each part was, like, 2 to 3 pages. Sometimes more, except for the last couple parts were, like, 9 pages each. So I decided to only do... like, basically 2 people at once, and only a single page for them.
And you're making me out to be some lame side character.
And next year, I will just omit your character from the story completely, because you're just
How rude.
belly aching about it constantly.
I am not. I belly ache.
I'll skip your cameo for tomorrow's page.
A cameo?
Yeah, you have a line in the next one.
A line?
It's not your page. Anyway. So yeah, I've been writing a story there. I've been reading it to the kids. I think they're enjoying it. I don't know. Except for Ruby, because she's whining about her.
Hey, I've not been mentioned yet.
True. Maybe I'll have to record it sometime and release it as some bonus content in the future. Has nothing to do with Pokemon. It's all about superheroes.
It really doesn't.
That's why it's bonus content. So if you want an extra story, guys, just let me know, and I'll consider recording my little story that stars the children.
You could have each of us read our characters.
I could. But I probably won't.
Except for the one Flynn brother and
because they're all supposed to be teenagers, so
I can sound like I am a teenager.
Uh-huh. But not the whole family.
Oh.
Anyway, is there anything you've been up to besides being sick?
I babysat today.
Yeah, you've been babysitting. You've had that job going pretty steadily-ish. Like, it's not an every week or anything kind of thing.
I'd say about once a month. Well, twice next month. Twice this month.
Yeah?
Maybe twice a month.
Yeah, so that's been cool. And your brother has a job working at a fast food restaurant, so...
His is much more steady, I would say.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, I guess the hours are more steady. Mine can be like anywhere from 1 hour to 10 hours.
That's true. Anything else you've been doing?
I'm in a play.
Oh, yeah. You guys have your 4-H drama thing that you got going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. How's it been going?
Pretty good. I've got my lines memorized.
Nice.
They just chose us randomly. They didn't actually really.
Yeah, it was not really like an audition process or anything.
I'd like to do a play like that. Like a full length.
Sure.
If that's everything, then let's get on with the episodes.
All right.
All right. First up, episode 193, or season 4, episode 34. The Dunsparce Deception, or no kotachi wa no kochinai, or there aren't any Nikochi here.
Although it's a question. There aren't any Nikochi here?
Yeah.
Like an exclamation.
Oh, I remember
exclamation
this
question.
episode.
So I'm going to guess, since it's the Dunsparce Deception, that Nikochi is Japanese for Dunsparce, or the original. Alright, so starting off, we have a bug catcher crawling through grass, and Ash and Co come upon him. The kid is apparently looking for a Dunsparce. He has a Caterpie to help him try and get one, and I don't think we've run into Dunsparce yet in the game or anime or anything.
I don't think so.
Also, something I learned later that I didn't realize, and I guess I haven't looked it up to be sure, but Dunsparce isn't a bug Pokemon.
Grass?
I think he's just normal. Yeah. You would like, he looks like he should be a bug Pokemon. More so than a Pineco.
Looks like a... Yeah. He looks like a, centipede, almost.
Well, he has wings. Like bug wings. Anyway, the kid's name is Bucky, so I expected him to have a metal arm, but he didn't. No, just kidding.
Where's Captain
like
America?
Yeah, good old Winter Soldier. I am excited for that new movie coming out this summer-ish time. Maybe it's in May or something.
What movie?
Thunderbolts. It's a new Marvel movie. And Bucky's a main character in it, Winter Soldier.
Ooh.
So is the bad guy Captain America.
Oh.
From Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Whenever I think of him, I think of my little brother beating up people with his shield.
And then Yelena, the Black Widow sister, and her quote-unquote dad, the Red Guardian guy. Do you remember him in the Black Widow movie?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. So yeah, in the Black Widow movie, the Black Widow teams up with the other girl, Yelena, her quote-unquote sister.
I remember Yelena.
And then they team up with the Red Guardian, who's kind of overweight. He's played by Hopper from Stranger Things.
I remember Hopper.
Well, anyway, he's also in the movie. And also Ghost, which was the person that could go through things in Ant-Man 2, if you remember that one at all.
Don't remember the Ant-Man movies very
well.
well.
Oh, and Taskmaster, which was another character in... It was a villain character in the Black Widow movie. But
I remember Yelena.
Well, at least you remember her.
She wants to kill Hawkeye?
Yes.
Because he threw her sister off a cliff.
On another planet, yeah.
Another planet.
Anyway, so it seems like a fun movie. They're teaming up to be heroes or something. Their own version of the Avengers.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, back on topic. So the gang asks Bucky why he wants a Dunsparce so bad, and then a bunch of other kids pass by, and they all have Dunsparce. And at a park, we can see all those kids playing with their Dunsparce, and many are comparing theirs to each other's. Like, oh, mine's bigger, or mine's cuter, or all these, mine can do this, and mine can do that. And there's even like a photo album that they have of one of them. It's like, oh yeah, this is what it does. It's like, it just eats and sleeps. And so then they explain what theirs does, which is pretty much the same thing.
And they like shine them or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I think some
works.
of them did that too. I think you're right. But then the kids end up holding a Dunsparce race, and they invite Bucky to use his Caterpie in the race. And I almost thought they were going to just be using it to, like, mock him.
Yeah, I thought they were mean kids at first. Like, before they even did that, like, they were just mean to him and stuff.
Yeah. But they weren't. They weren't really mean to him at all.
No, they just were trying to include him.
Yep. What we find out is that, like, he had to leave because his grandpa was dying or something. And a swarm, so they used the swarm thing, like, from the game, of Dunsparce showed up. And so they all got them while he was out of town. And when he came, pretty much all of them were gone. So he wants one because they all have one and are enjoying them, you know?
Yeah.
So he feels a little left out. So yeah, Misty spends a lot of the episode hiding because of all the quote-unquote bugs. But I don't think they're actually bugs. Although it still makes sense because they look like bugs.
Yep.
Like, I totally get if it's not a bug type, that's fine. Like, she shouldn't be just scared of bug type. If you're scared of something because it's like a bug, like creepy and crawly. So bug types that are like Pineco or even Burmy and stuff, I can totally see her not being scared of. Like, it makes perfect sense to me. Venonat doesn't make sense.
Well, if that makes sense, then she should be scared of Venonat, even though he's not a bug type.
Yeah, even though he's not a bug type. So dumb. So then Team Rocket shows up, spying on everything going on, and they're stunned by all the Dunsparce. Then they go to launch their quote-unquote great plan to steal Pikachu. Caterpie couldn't handle the race course, because it was like kind of an obstacle-y thing. And it seems...
Well, there were some like things for flying and stuff, and the Dunsparce could fly and he couldn't.
Right. Well, I remember him trying to climb up like a slide or something,
something like that.
Others got up faster and he was slower. But then we get a Psyduck sighting, as Psyduck pops out on its own. So we haven't had one of those in a while, so that was exciting. Then, after all the racing and all this stuff, the group are looking for a Dunsparce and find one, because they want to help Bucky get his own.
Mm-hmm.
And it dives back into the ground and flees. And then a net is dropped on the Pokemon because Team Rocket has arrived with an interesting intro.
Prepare for trouble, we just dropped our net.
And make it double. Let's see what we get. And they're dressed as like a captain and pirate for some reason. Not sure. Misty even asks about their costumes, and the answer is because. That's what their answer is. They just said because.
Well, they got to use up all the outfits.
Well, Meowth suggests that there was a mix-up at the dry cleaners. He's like, I thought it was because there was a mix-up.
Oh.
So they're not supposed to be dressed in this today, but it's just what they had.
Laundry day.
Laundry day. Then somehow, as they get launched off, they manage to have a Dunsparce, and they just say, that's better than nothing, as they're blasting off. And then we get a ding! They don't say they're blasting off, I don't think, but we get that.
So is that,
No, because they don't say anything in place of it either. They just blast off.
Alright.
Bucky feels bad about losing the Dunsparce, that the gang helped him find, but they just say they'll help him find another one. And then we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. Believed to be one of the most difficult Pokemon to defeat in battle. When we get back, Team Rocket is not impressed with their one Dunsparce because the boss won't care. But a bunch of Dunsparce.
The boss will care a bunch less.
So Team Rocket set up some stage performance of Dunsparce versus Moltres. And Meowth is the Dunsparce, and James is dressed as Moltres!
With the same outfit he used before when he was all high.
I don't know if it was exactly the same, but it was very similar, at least.
It wasn't the same.
I don't think it was. Anyway, it was fun that he got to be Moltres again. Reminded us of a fantastic episode.
That was so funny.
And now however, this time he feels humiliated in his costume. And the play is, of course, terrible. Then they show a trading machine and claim that they are ready to trade a Moltres for each of their Dunsparce. Of course, those that trade are left with nothing because, of course, they don't have Moltres, or let alone a bunch of them.
Wait. So if they suggest they have a bunch of Moltres, does that mean there are many of the legendary birds?
It would seem to suggest that.
Just more evidence?
Yep, I agree.
But I can't believe they want to trade their Dunsparce for Moltres.
Why?
Because they love their Dunsparce.
Yeah, but it's a Moltres.
They have photo books. That's like trading your best friend for something that, like, if I trade my best friend for a princess, I'm not doing it.
Okay. It's not quite the same. Because they just got them not that long ago. They're popular at the moment. So back to Team Rocket. Apparently, all the Dunsparce that they got traded got away because James opened the Pokeballs to see if they were still there. Jeez.
What an idiot.
Which I think helps to show that the Pokemon do not obey people when the Pokeball is traded inappropriately. Like if there's not an actual trade that happened because it wasn't a true trading machine and there were fake Pokeballs or empty Pokeballs. Because normally trading, then they will at least obey you to some extent, right? They don't run away. So the gang show up, and there's a battle, and Victory Bell gives us another Eating James distracted Pokemon moment. Then the kids show up and command all the Dunsparce to defeat Team Rocket, and so they're blasting off again! Ding! Then all the kids are reunited with their Dunsparce, and the other one Bucky tried to get shows back up, and he sends in Caterpie to battle it. And wins so he can catch it. Now he also has his Dunsparce. Then the gang say goodbye and continue on their way. And I actually kind of thought that this story was going to go a little differently, where he's going to learn to appreciate what he had.
Well, he did at one point when he had Caterpie do the course, and he was like, "I'm sorry, I tried to make you do that. I still like you."
Yeah, he always loved his Caterpie. Like, from the get-go. Like, he didn't need to learn to love his Caterpie. I just thought he was going to learn to, like, not need to have the same thing everybody else has. But he still gets it, and whatever. I mean, it wasn't, like, a bad story. It was just, I thought there was a direction they were going with it, and they didn't take that direction. Just like I thought they were going to be mean kids, and they weren't.
And our Who's That Pokemon? It's Mew! And our tellies are exciting, interesting intro, distracted Pokemon. Now, let's rank the episode.
Alright. Well, so there was nothing too fantastic about this episode. It was fine, but it didn't stand out to me by any means. It even almost felt like a chore to have to go through it a second time as I was writing notes and everything. It wasn't a bad episode to watch originally, but like some episodes I just I don't need to watch this a second time. So I would probably put it, I don't know, under the grass root somewhere. It could maybe go under Fossil Fools. It probably doesn't go under Hook, Line, and Stinker, though, because that had the annoying kid in it.
I think it probably goes above the Ammonite one.
Above the Ammonite one? Okay.
Yeah.
And that one is now our new number 30, out of currently 34.
Alright, well, now that we did that, let's move on to our next episode, episode 194, or season 4, episode 35, The Wayward Wobbuffet, or Sonansu, or Sonans. Is that so?
That's really interesting. So does that mean Sonans means is that so?
But if Sonans is that so, is that just the name of Wobuffet and like Sonans?
Yeah, Sonans is Wobuffet.
Okay, so Snowlands is probably is that so, but
yes,
it's his name.
Right. Like, is his name also, like, translated also, is that so? That's what I'm wondering. It seems like that might be the case, which is funny. Mm-hmm. Alright, so, the gang is walking along and Team Rocket is spying on them, like usual. They pretend to be professors and are examining a device that they've made, and they trick Ash to putting Pikachu inside of it. Then, with a smokescreen, Team Rocket flees. The gang catch up to Team Rocket, but they handed the device to Wobbuffet, and so then Wobbuffet needs to flee, but it trips and ends up in a river and washed away, leaving the device with Pikachu inside with Ash. And we also learn that there's one key to open the container, and Wobbuffet has it. Then, after the opening credits, we get Team Rocket actually giving us the title for the episode, which I thought was fun. They read the title, because usually when the title shows up, Ash says the name of the episode, but Team Rocket says it this time. Mm-hmm. Team Rocket is super sad with Wobbuffet being gone. Or is that just a ploy to have them hand over Pikachu for sympathy? Wasn't sure. Then Jessie goes into a clever explanation that Ash & Co. will need to work with them to rescue Pikachu out of his cage because he might run out of air if he stays in there too long. But by the end of her explanation, they find out the gang already left.
And if Pikachu was
I just thought it was so funny because she's like, well, now you have to work with us to get the key so we can free Pikachu, otherwise he's going to suffocate. But by the time she's done explaining all that, they've already left to go look for her. So Wobbuffet floats into a Quagsire, and immediately I could see the delight in Ruby's eyes as she likes both of these Pokemon so much. I don't know what it is about these weird, like, smooth-shaped blue Pokemon.
They were both right next to each other. It was a Wobbuffet and a Quagsire, and this episode is our new number 1.
No.
I've got a Master Ball.
That you do, and if you want to waste it for this episode, go for it.
but it's a Quagsire and a Wobbuffet.
It's only for a brief moment. Well, the Quagsire doesn't last long.
They should make a whole episode with just Quagsire.
No, jeez.
That would be amazing.
Team Rocket and Ash and Co. are basically racing to get to Wobbuffet first. Wobbuffet is excited to see Team Rocket and goes for them, but drops onto a runaway semi-truck, and then cops show up, and Team Rocket flees, because there's cops. Jenny wants the kids out of the way because they need to catch the truck, and Ash convinces her to let them ride along because they need to catch up to the truck as well, because that's where Wobbuffet is. Apparently, there is a Golem trainer, bank robber, that is driving the truck. Brock tries flirting with Jenny, and Misty launches into babysitting Brock mode. Then the truck is surrounded, and Team Rocket is coming in. But then the bank robber lifts off in a Golem hot air balloon. He tries to throw Wobbuffet out of the basket because the Wobbuffet goes with him. But then the Wobbuffet counterattacks, which sends the thief outside of the basket instead. So now Wobbuffet is floating away in this random balloon. Team Rocket chases the balloon down to get Wobbuffet to return, but it isn't going well. Their balloon pops, and so Meowth jumps up to cover the hole of their balloon, and Wobbuffet jumps out of the other basket to join his group, but causes the balloon to explode more, and Team Rocket is blasting off again, with Wobbuffet flying in a different direction, and... ding! Chikorita catches Wobbuffet, but it ends up on a boat running down a river. Then we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. This Pokemon's paws are always loaded with honey. We get back to Team Rocket lamenting their situation. Then they see Wobbuffet drive by in a boat, but he's out cold. Jessie and Ash land on the boat.
He was knocked out?
Yeah, I think when he landed on the boat or something.
Oh.
I don't remember. It's been a while. This episode should have been recorded ages ago.
It's only been like a month.
That's a long time for remembering episodes.
Especially when we were both so tired.
Jessie and Ash land on the boat to get to Wobbuffet, and they fight. Then Wobbuffet comes to and pulls out the steering wheel. Then it tries to stop the boat, or something, but accelerates it instead and breaks the lever. Then the thief is riding along on a jet ski. The Wobbuffet boat crashes into a Lapras boat, and it sends Wobbuffet landing onto the jet ski with the thief. So now Wobbuffet's back with the thief, because he stole a jet ski since he couldn't use his hot air balloon. Ash and Jessie are still in the runaway boat. Totodile's water gun slows them to a stop. Now the thief ends up in some rundown building and holding the Wobbuffet hostage as it is surrounded by cops. So it's kind of like a last stand situation for the thief. Team Rocket get an idea. The gang are looking around and find a hole dug into the ground, which was done, I think, by Team Rocket. Mm-hmm. I think that was part of their idea.
Yeah, they were going to go talk to the thief.
Yeah. Then in the building, Team Rocket pops out of the ground to confront the thief and launch into an interesting intro.
Prepare for trouble and bitter regret.
If you don't give us back Wobbuffet! And we get an irritating interruption as Wobbuffet is happy to see them and interrupts Meowth's ending. They convince the thief to use their tunnel to escape, but he doesn't escape. So he attacks with Golem. Then Ash shows up, and so he attacks Ash instead, and Totodile uses Water Gun on Golem. So good matchup there. Totodile hides from a Golem attack behind Wobbuffet, who ends up using counterattack, which sends the thief out of the building. Team Rocket flees, and Ash tries to catch them as they fly off in their new Team Rocket Wobbuffet balloon. Ash sends...
Wait, they had a Wobbuffet balloon?
Yeah, at the end of this one, yeah.
I was asleep, I think, for this whole last little
That's
part.
fine. It's all very fun. Ash sends Noctowl to pop a hole so they can get the key and finally free Pikachu. Once free, Pikachu zaps Team Rocket and sends them blasting off again! Ding! Jenny thanks the gang for helping them catch the thief, and then they head off to continue their journey. It is a ridiculous episode, all full of hijinks, weird like people getting into each other's way, or with this random thief situation. It's a hoot, really.
I gotta watch this again.
You should. This one was great. This one I was okay watching a second time.
Alright, our Who's That Pokemon? It's Teddiursa! And our tallies are babysitting Brock, interesting intro, and irritating interruption. Alright, now let's rank it.
Did you want me to rank this one too, since you slept through half of it?
I could probably
Okay.
rank it with some guidance.
All right, sounds good.
We got this. All right, let's rank it. So it was definitely better than the Dunsparce Deception.
For sure.
It probably goes way up there. And then there was that amazing Quagsire moment.
Right.
I think it goes above Hassle in the Castle.
I would agree with that.
Probably above Troubles Brewing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That one's a hard one. That was the Eevee episode.
Oh, so maybe right under?
I don't know. I'm good either way.
I think I kind of
so like the
it
Eevee
more.
the Eevee episode wasn't like super funny, but it was cool.
I know. I think
Although I had some funny stuff. Whereas this one, I just like this style of like hijinks. So
I think it probably goes above Troubles Brewing still.
okay.
Probably above Wobbuffet.
Wobbuffet being the one where all the Wobuffets have the statue and everything.
It was so amazing, but still.
Okay.
No pious.
You just wanted higher just because Quagsire showed up with Wobbuffet in this one.
That's a good thing. Maybe right there then. What do you think?
So under airtime?
Maybe, probably. What do you think? I know it goes definitely above Troubles Brewing. What are your thoughts after that?
Okay, so I didn't like airtime as much as you, which is why it's kind of a little funky for me. So I like it better than airtime. Wobbuffet, on the other hand, had the awesome moment with Team Rocket helping out, which makes it harder for me to say yes or no if it goes above that one. That's where I'm at.
I liked airtime that much. I thought it was probably you who put it up there.
It was not me. I mean, I liked it. It's just not as much as you did.
It's number 5, though.
I know. I'm not saying that's my fault.
We just want to move that one down a bit. Just a few.
That's what our Pokeballs are for later. So I guess if you don't think airtime is as good as you thought it was once upon a time, then the real question is, does it go above or below Wobbuffet? If it goes above Wobbuffet, then it goes above airtime as well. And we can also discuss the bug stops here. Whereas if it's under Wobbuffet, then that's, well, very simple, I guess.
I don't know. The Wobbuffet is such a good one. I think you have to decide because I made the final decision for you last time, and you watched most of this episode.
It's really tricky because I feel like it fills in a different kind of genre for me. So like depending on the mood I'm in, I would put it under Power Play because it's very amusing and very comedic. But there's actually some really solid stuff in Goldenrod Opportunity, which is the first episode of the season, with the gym and everything. The bug stops here with Casey and all that stuff, and Togepi going out there. There's a lot of fun there as well, but it's not necessarily hysterical like this episode was. So it really depends on like what I'm in the mood for. This one has like a bit of a different genre for me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's why it's really hard for me to pinpoint where it goes here.
Was that just all an excuse for me to have to move it?
It's your ranking.
I was asleep for the ending.
I asked if you wanted me to rank it.
Okay, I can do this. Maybe we'll just put it right under it for now. Then we can change it with our Pokeballs later if we really want to. After I rewatch it, then maybe I'll have to change it with a Pokeball.
Alright, so we have a new number 7, the Wayward Wobuffet.
Now let's move on to our next episode. Episode 195, or Season 4, Episode 36, Sick Daze, or Takeshi Tareru Abunai Kayanapu. And guys, they put 3 exclamation points. Everyone applaud.
Yay!
Or Takeshi Collapses, a dangerous camp.
Yep.
They said cramp.
No, Kiampu is just them pronouncing camp. Abunai, we do know is dangerous. We've learned that, actually, in our Duolingo. And
I wouldn't say I've learned it. I had a question on it the other day, and I had no clue which one to put there, so I chose a random one and got it wrong.
Okay, well, you should have learned it. And I guess Taoreru is collapsing or something like that, because I know Takeshi is Brock.
Sick Daze. Brock collapses. A dangerous camp.
Mm-hmm. So the gang is hanging out by a lake or something along with their Pokemon. Ash and Misty are excited for some breakfast, but they are wondering why it is taking so long and approach Brock. Ash finds out it is oatmeal and is bummed out they're having that again. And then Brock collapses. He's very sick and burning up. Ash and Misty have Brock in bed and are worried about him. Then they decide to let him sleep all day. But Brock wakes up to all their talking and decides he has too much to do and heads out. But Ash and Misty put him back in bed, and he says he has notes in his bag on how to take care of the Pokemon and cook and all of that. Togepi grabs the book from the bag for them, and they get started. Geodude and Onix are making a fuss, and that's because they are supposed to be polished that day. Ash and Misty are getting exhausted working on it. Misty looks in the book to get help on how to make the work easier, but Ash gets an idea all on his own and has Totodile shoot water gun at Onix.
What kind of idiot are you?
Well, remember, he's always bad with matchups too, right? Like, he's like, oh, I'll pick this Pokemon, even though it's a poor matchup.
But he literally sprinkled water on Onix before to win the gym badge.
Well, he didn't do that on purpose, actually.
But if you...
And he never actually,
make the
and he actually
connection?
never used the water. Like, Pikachu, like there was a blast with Pikachu and stuff. It caused the sprinkler to go off and start getting Onix wet, and then Pikachu electrified him because he was wet now. It wasn't even because the wet hurt him, right? Like, it was because he had water on him, so the electric attack works. So no, Ash didn't learn anything from that battle.
Even if he had poured a bucket of water on Onix and that killed him, he still wouldn't have learned.
Meowth tried that tactic in the Togepi episode. Alright, so, meanwhile, Brock is dreaming about Blossom dancing. There are flowers.
His dreams, alright.
Yes, his dreams are great. He was also having trouble staying awake through these episodes. There are flowers everywhere and petals floating around in the sky. Brock wonders what could be more beautiful than a field full of flowers, and then he sees very pretty girls. When he goes for them, however, he can't seem to get closer, and then a meteorite collides with him and sends him down a pit. When he wakes up, he's holding his Pineco instead of the meteorite. Both Pineco and Golbat are keeping an eye on him. Then Brock hears an argument between Misty and Ash, so he's going to go help out, but then Golbat sonics him back into the bed. Brock accepts that his Pokemon are being kind to him and just trying to help. Then Ash decides he's going to go off and get some apples for lunchtime. When Ash gets out there, he finds that none of the apple trees have any apples. We cut to Team Rocket vacuuming up all the apples with their little vacuum machine. Ash shows up, and so Team Rocket give us an interesting intro.
Mind your own business. We're not making trouble.
We're just picking fruit, so scram on the double. And they don't do the rest of their motto at this point. At least not at first. After Wobbuffet pops out and Ash asks for some apples, they decide to finish their motto, and Wobbuffet comes back out with an irritating interruption. And then they vacuum up Pikachu. So then Team Rocket send out their Pokemon, and Victreebel is a distracted Pokemon and it eats James. But Ash uses his other Pokemon to battle and free Pikachu, and then Pikachu zaps them, sending Team Rocket blasting off again! Ding! And now Ash gets all the apples instead of just a few. We find ourselves in another Brock dream where he is standing on the clouds, looking at Butterfree, and wondering what could be more beautiful than the sky. The three pretty girls show up waving again, and Brock goes after them a second time and falls down a pit a second time. In reality, Brock falls out of bed. Ash and Misty are there bringing him some apples. Brock goes back to bed and Ash cuts wood while Pokemon play. Misty starts cooking and accidentally puts salt in instead of sugar. Then she puts way too much sugar to counter the salt, so she adds even more salt, and too much of that goes in. She goes back and forth and then decides the recipe is boring because it's only sugar and salt. So she goes way overboard and throws in all sorts of flavorful ingredients. Ash doesn't eat it as he is too scared to. Misty tries it, and it's clear she doesn't like it either, but she doesn't want to admit to it. Then we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. This Pokemon gets very upset if disturbed while sipping its honey.
Or sap.
So then back to the show, Misty and Ash decide to sleep on the porch with their Pokemon also sleeping outside so that they don't disturb Brock. The two realize they should be more grateful to Brock because he clearly works very hard. Then Team Rocket sneaks up and is spying on the gang, but Jessie gets distracted with Misty's stew and she loves it. But, she grew up with, snow to eat, so.
With flavored snow.
Sure. The others do not like it. Instead of just, and this includes Wobbuffet, I think. Instead of just grabbing Pikachu, Team Rocket decides to go for a bunch of Pokemon. They have a fake Ash standing there in the bushes, and they use a voice changer megaphone to lure Ash's Pokemon away.
I would say that voice changer megaphone because they used it before in the K9 Caper.
Yes, they've used it multiple times.
Oh, really?
There was another episode, the Bellsprout episode. Meowth uses it. So all the Pokemon look up to where Ash is sleeping, and the 3 Johto starters walk off right away anyway. Bulbasaur seems a lot more reluctant, but he does also end up walking over. And so they're all caught. Misty and Ash wake up and look over to find Jessie and James with an interesting intro wake-up call.
Prepare for trouble, sleepyheads.
Don't make it double. Just stay in your beds. Then Meowth shouts at Jessie and James to be quiet, which I think ends up being another irritating interruption because they don't finish. And I think we've decided to start using those moments where he cuts them short to be irritating interruptions, which we'll have to go back and calculate. But then Team Rocket runs off with their haul, and so then we're back to Brock's dreams. This time, he's on a beach by the sea, and Magikarp are popping out and back into the water. What could be nicer than a clear blue sea? And the girls show up again. This time, Brock is hit with a large wave, and it washes him away. He wakes up because Golbat and Pineco were trying to get him up so he could see Ash and Co. chasing after Team Rocket. Ash and Misty fall into a trap as they're chasing them down, and then Team Rocket start lifting off with their balloon. But it has some kind of contraption with fans to give it a boost, and arms come out and grab Onix, Geodude, Poliwhirl, and Staryu. They can't use Pikachu to shock them because of the Pokemon that are up there, and it would shock all of them. And then Team Rocket catches Pikachu as well. So then Golbat comes zooming in and cuts a hole in the balloon, and the Pokemon are freed! Brock battles Team Rocket with Pineco, Golbat, and Onix. Then Pikachu zaps them all, and they're all blasting off again! Ding! The next day, Ash and Misty wake up to the delicious smell of Brock's cooking. Brock agrees to get some sleep again, and he hopes to catch the girls this time. Then, at the end, there is a dream, and he leaps into their arms. So I think he might have succeeded that time.
And our Who's That Pokemon? It's Heracross!
Oh, we miss Heracross.
We do. And our tallies are 2 interesting intros, 2 irritating interruptions, and 1 distracted Pokemon. Now let's rank it.
Alright. So this one was fun. Not as fun as the last one, I don't think, but it was definitely entertaining, and they learned some stuff. So I think I'd probably put it under a hot water battle and above the light fantastic. That's where I think I would put it.
Sounds good.
Alright. That was an easy one. Like, not too super, but also not bad.
That's how I feel about all of them, and that's why they're all in the middle.
So yes, Sick Days is now our new number 22 out of 36.
Yay! And now for our next episode, episode 196, or season 4, episode 37, Ringmasters, or Odairu Tai Kamikasu Sumo Batoru, or Ordile versus Kamax Sumo Battle. And they did 3 exclamation points.
Ooh, yes,
it proud.
Did. And Ordile
is
Feraligatr, I think. And Kamex is Snorlax. Alright, so the gang are going through an interesting little village, and they find a Feraligatr battling against a Nidoking. The Feraligatr manages to toss the Nido out of the ring. And then Feraligatr is battling against a Heracross, which, I mean, it's not Ash's Heracross, but it was still fun to see one again.
I love Heracross, but I still prefer he would disobey his master and suck sap out of a tree.
Or Bulbasaur.
Yes.
It takes on a Grambull, too. Turns out the trainer's having his Feraligatr battling a ton of different type of Pokemon. His name is Raiden, and at one point he talks to some old guy, I think it was like his mentor or something, the way the conversation went. And we learn that Raiden plans on winning the King's Rock in some sort of competition. Misty is in love with Feraligatr because it is a water Pokemon that's really strong. And it turns out that the Pokemon in this village are trained to be sumo wrestlers. And the old man that I thought was the mentor or whatever is the director of the Sumo Society. Ash brings out Totodile so that it can see what it will be someday. We'll see about that. Ash has
evolve like Bulbasaur.
Right? Or Squirtle. The only one who evolved was Charmander, who's now gone. The rules for the sumo wrestling Pokemon have them so that they can't use attack moves or anything special like that. Like, they have to just wrestle.
Yeah, I know I definitely missed this point earlier because I was super confused later.
Because, yeah, it's all about the Pokemon's strength and skill. Ash wants to compete, so Ash was going to use Pikachu or Totodile, and he was planning to start training them, but he learns that the Pokemon that wrestle have to be heavy enough. So Ash contacts Oak to get a Snorlax, but that means he has to send one back again, because he can only have so many. And who does Oak want? Noctowl!
Come on!
That's what happened to Heracross!
They suck.
And of course Oak wants it because it's shiny. I mean, that makes sense. But no, I like Noctowl. I kept being sure we were going to lose him before, and now he's gone.
Yeah, when he said he wanted one back, I'm like, I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. You did it.
Well, he's the guy who, I think he got my Pokeball last episode that we did, because Noctowl was so great against the Murkrow. Then we find Jesse and James in disguise with their Wobbuffet disguised as a Miltank, so it can enter the competition. Apparently, Jesse wanted to enter just so that they could be winners finally. Like, that's the whole purpose. Not even about the prize necessarily, just, we want to win. It seemed clear her plan was to use Wobbuffet's counterattack to win the tournament, and everyone had to weigh their Pokemon to make sure they're heavy enough. Ash's Snorlax breaks the scale, which definitely meant it was heavy enough. But, after breaking the scale, Snorlax just sleeps right where he's at, and so Ash and the gang are worried they're not going to be able to make it to the competition since the opening ceremony has already started. But then, the announcer, which they can hear from where they're at, mentions the prizes. There's the King's Rock, and a 1-year supply of Pokemon food. Snorlax wakes up for that one. The announcer of the matches sings the competitors' names when they come in, like, coming in from the east, or whatever. Like, he does a weird, like, songy kind of thing. The first battle is Wobbuffet against Ursaring. With the counterattack, Ursaring is pushed out of the battle ring. But the old man who heads up the event stops the whole thing because he knows that Wobbuffet used an attack move, and therefore it is disqualified. Team Rocket shout at the old man and ask if he knows who he's talking to. He says no, and they might as well tell him. So they toss out their interesting intro.
Prepare for trouble and stop your hassling.
Because we're through with sumo wrestling. It doesn't take long for Feraligatr to hydro pump Team Rocket away, and they go blasting off again. Ding! Ding. Also, Team Rocket had a hilarious moment where they were talking about how hard it is to, or how unfair it is that they lose, because how else are they going to win if they don't cheat, basically? And it was really kind of funny. Like, the rules are biased against cheaters or something. So then we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. This Pokemon is very timid and likes to travel in groups. Back to the show, the competition continues. Eventually, Ash becomes a finalist, and the way the episode was flowing, the episode made me pretty sure Raiden would be winning the overall competition. And so when Ash became a finalist, and they make a big deal about it, because he's the first rookie to do it, that made that a win for Ash, and so I assumed that was going to be his win for the episode, you know?
Well, and I didn't think he should win. I thought the other guy should definitely have won.
Right.
But I was thinking that he would lose, Ash would lose, but Snorlax would go and eat the food anyway. And the other guy would be okay with that, and that would be the end.
Oh, and after Snorlax's first win, when they were battling, because the food just set out there, Snorlax went right for the food, and so Ash had to return him quick before he got to it. Team Rocket decides to make fake Pokemon prints to sell at the stadium, and while posing as souvenir vendors, they can hang around until the wrestlers leave, and then they will steal their Pokemon. And so the final match is obviously Feraligatr versus Snorlax. However, as we kind of probably made you understand and spoiled, in the end, Snorlax wins.
Alright, it was kind of cool, and I like how Snorlax won, but still, it's like, the other people should win.
Yeah. It was a cool
where
battle,
Ash
though.
can walk in and just win. I'm like, dude, stop it.
And the guy was very accepting of the defeat, so.
Mm-hmm.
But that means Ash has a King's Rock, so we'll see if that gets used later, like the Sunstone did, and if it's wasted again like the Sunstone. And Snorlax wastes no time eating the entire year supply of food before going back to sleep. And then we get Noctowl back as Snorlax is sent back to Oak. Woohoo! So we didn't lose Noctowl after all. Then we find Team Rocket with all their fake prints, but they got to the stadium too late, and everyone is already gone. So they wander off with their fakes, deciding to try again next year. And they give us an off again moment as they trudge away saying, "Looks like Team Rocket's messed up again."
No ding.
Well, they're just walking, so.
Our Who's That Pokemon was Ladybug. And our tallies are interesting intro and off again. Now let's rank it. This one, I mean, it was pretty good. I like that Snorlax was funny. It was an interesting Pokemon battle thing, but it's definitely above Applecore and definitely below Imitation Confrontation.
This is quite a big gap.
But I mean, I cut out like half of it.
Oh, great. Good job.
Maybe below a Hot Water Battle? What was 2 hits and a miss?
That was the fighting dojo place.
It's probably above that one. I like that one in my mouth. I've lowered it down a lot. What are you thinking?
Well, if it's above 2 hits and a miss, I think that's where it goes then.
Okay. Sounds good.
Alright, so that puts Ringmasters at our new number 26 out of 37.
Now moving on to our next episode, number 197, or Season 4, Episode 38. The Poke-Spokesman, or Pokemon to Hanasamasu, Pokemon no Kotoba, Pokemon no Kimochi.
Hanasamasu, I think, is speaking. Like, I think we've learned that in Duolingo as well.
Or you can speak with Pokemon the words and feelings of Pokemon. And they
the words and feelings of Pokemon means it's probably the words of Pokemon, the feelings of Pokemon in the Japanese title. Because it says Pokemon no twice, whereas the translated version of it says the words and feelings, right?
Yes.
So that's interesting.
And they only had 2 exclamation points, but they also had a question mark, so I feel like that counts for something.
It does. Alright, so Pikachu is strangely exhausted as they're traveling. And then a guy shows up and says the area contains minerals that absorb electrical energy, which is why Pikachu feels so drained. Then he starts talking Pikachu language, basically, to Pikachu, and Pikachu responds. Then the guy says they can all come to his rest stop up ahead. He claims he can speak Pokemon. Alright, so right off, if you can do that, that's great. But you just need to understand it, because Pokemon understand humans. Like, they talk to their Pokemon all the time in normal words, and the Pokemon know what they're saying.
I mean, sometimes maybe it's a little rough, and it'd be a little bit easier to speak actual Pokemon. But still, you can talk.
But, like, they
Pokemon,
have...
and they talk to you somewhat.
They respond, like, they nod their heads and all kinds of stuff. And also, if they didn't understand it, Meowth probably wouldn't have learned to talk himself, right? But also, in battle, they have commands. Granted, you can tell a dog to, sit, and it understands if you've trained it, but still.
Yeah. The whole episode just goes downhill. And the ending, ugh.
So, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Alright, so then we cut to Team Rocket sitting outside some building enjoying a cup of tea, and they're dressed like old people again with their long and obviously fake beards. And their hair is totally visible. And the outfits and beards, though, they reminded me of the costumes they wore when they pretended to be old people on the mountain where Bruno was in the Master the Unexpected episode. The reason they're dressed the way they are is for a senior citizen discount. But they're all out of money again now, so they need to think of something. Then the guy shows up with the gang and Team Rocket hides. And that confused me because they're in disguise. And they know that the gang is never going to recognize them that way.
Even if they put on glasses.
Right? And the guy says they can use his bicycle-powered generator to charge Pikachu back up. He tells Brock and Misty that they should recharge any other electric types they have, too, but they don't have any other ones. So he says that he guesses he can't charge much for just one bicycle boost. They're shocked that they have to pay, and he says, of course, for using his bicycle. And he has a Pokemon interpreter fee. He says he only does it to keep up maintenance on his rest stop, but since he didn't tell them beforehand, he won't charge this time.
Good, because you can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk to your Pokemon and then charge you for it.
Right? Team Rocket is listening in on all this. They were apparently under the bench that Misty, Brock, and the guy were sitting on, and they get excited about Pikachu being low on energy and pop out, tossing everyone off the bench. And in their old people voices, Jessie croaks out her interesting intro.
Prepare for trouble, whatever you do.
And then we immediately get an irritating interruption before James can even talk, as the interpreter cuts in telling them he knows, and they just need to give him a second, and he'll get him another pot of tea. So then James, instead of actually doing like the whole rhyming thing, actually gives us a catching catchphrase, I think. We can discuss that if you want.
I would count it.
Because it doesn't sound like it's part of his intro anymore. Instead, he's just like, hey, that's not going to work. Tea won't stop trouble from brewing.
I think it definitely counts.
For catching catchphrase?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, alright, cool. So then after revealing themselves and saying they want Pikachu, Team Rocket gets distracted by trying to figure out if the guy can really understand Pokemon. He goes and talks to Pikachu, but instead of saying what Pikachu said, he tells Pikachu to save his energy and claims that it is almost impossible for most people to understand Pokemon. So see, like, he never even got new information. He was just speaking to the Pokemon, which everybody can do without saying Pika, Pika, Pika. So then Jenny shows up and tells Simon, the interpreter, that it's true that most people can't understand Pokemon, and she's there to arrest him for scamming people out of money with fake interpretations. Jenny weirdly claims Pokemon can't understand human speech, and humans can't understand them.
But, like...
She's half right.
Well, I mean, Pokemon understand them, and people somewhat understand Pokemon.
They get the vibe, right?
Right.
They can kind of get what they're feeling, but they don't actually understand language.
Pikachu's so cute when he's getting all worked up and trying to do something with his little arms. Pikachu!
Right. Or remember when Psyduck is trying to explain things to Misty when they're in the woods with the Farfetch'd?
No, yeah. Or Psy.
Team Rocket disagrees. After all, Meowth can, for sure, understand human speech, and they can understand him. And that was a mistake, because Jenny notices them then, and she thinks she recognizes them and holds up a wanted poster. However, what's funny about the wanted poster is it's actually Butch and Cassidy on the poster. It's still Team Rocket, but not the right ones. Still, she's like, oh, they're Team Rocket, and so Team Rocket flees. But then some smoke bombs explode nearby. Jenny thinks Team Rocket are Simon's accomplices. Team Rocket uses the cover to escape, and when the smoke clears, Simon is gone too. Looking real suspicious, Mr. Simon.
Not to me. I knew everything was stupid, but I knew he wasn't a fake.
Jenny takes the gang to the Pokemon Center for Pikachu to actually recover. Team Rocket looks from their hiding place and sees Simon walking off with 3 guys in suits. Then in a secluded cabin in the woods, some gangster is chatting with Simon and says he's heard a lot about the Pokemon interpreter. Apparently, this guy and his cronies are the ones that have been scamming people by pretending to be interpreters, and they claim that it is what Simon is also doing. Team Rocket followed and are spying on this conversation and learn that this might be a handy way to make some money. They will just fake it like the gangsters. Team Rocket, you have Meowth, who actually can interpret what Pokemon are saying. You have shown this so many times. Just use him and pretend he can't speak English. And you can literally interpret anything. You don't have to fake it. Inside the cabin, Simon says he won't join the gangsters, and so the gangsters have to deal with him. But Team Rocket decides they're going to try and save him because it would be handy to have an actual interpreter that can help them make money. At the Pokemon Center, Ash talks to Oak on the video phone. Oak says that it isn't entirely unheard of, the ability to speak and understand Pokemon, in legends and fairy tales, that is. Simon shows up at the center and says he is headed to the police station and that he doesn't actually understand Pokemon words. It is just a feeling. He understands what Pokemon mean. So, like Ash usually does with Pikachu and other Pokemon. Mm-hmm. I guess Ash is a Pokemon interpreter at that rate. Simon says there was a time he could understand them perfectly. And then before we can get into that, we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. On land, this Pokemon is coated with a slimy, poisonous film. Simon says 60 years ago there was a terrible storm and a tornado coming toward him and their little farm. Then his dad throws him into a storm cellar and tells him to stay there. While he's there for a long time, he hears Pokemon come in and he fully understands an Oddish, Pidgey, and Rattata who show up. This distracted him from the storm, and he talked to those Pokemon for hours. Then, when people showed back up and the storm was over, he tells the Pokemon to come with him outside, but they weren't there anymore. And that was the only time he has ever been able to talk to them directly, when he was a kid, scared, alone, hiding from a storm. He probably dreamed it.
I agree with that. And I also want to just say, the dad was going to the neighbors to make sure they were safe.
Interestingly enough, there are 3 other Pokemon shown inside the Pokemon Center, and they happen to be the same 3 he claimed to talk to. An Oddish, Pidgey, and Rattata. Like, they're just Pokemon that are in the Poke Center being recovered. So it almost seems like it's a made-up story. Like, he saw them and is using the things around him to come up with this cockamamie tale. Or maybe he's just crazy. And coming up with things around him to add to his delusion. And the guy is claiming that he's starting to doubt himself. Then Magnemite and Magneton show up and look ready to attack. Sure enough, the gangsters are back and claim Simon got away from them. And then I was like, wait a second. But how? Last we knew he was in the cabin with them. Team Rocket said that they wanted to help him. And the next thing we know, Simon's showing up at the Pokemon Center with nobody on his tail. I was like, wait a second. What?
That's confusing.
It was very confusing when I thought about it during my second watch. Because I didn't really think about it the first time too much, I don't think. Anyway, they aren't going to let the gang go to the cops. The Magnemites and Magnetons are draining all the power from the Pokemon Center, and Joy wants them to stop because there are Pokemon being treated, and they need the electricity. So Simon talks to the Mags and convinces them to stop. Maybe he can talk to... Wait! Everyone can talk to Pokemon! He just was talking to them and appealing to their emotion, just like Ash does.
He does it all the time! He, convinces Pokemon to do things and talks to them, and that's what this guy just did.
Anyway, it works, and then Pikachu gives the Mags the power they need, and so then they surround the goons and shock them until the cops show up and arrest them. Oh yeah, because the goons all said that they starve the Magnemite too, because they need electricity to, eat and power up. And so that's why Pikachu, feeds them, so that they're able to do some stuff and are happy again. So then Simon tries to turn himself in when the cops get there, but Jenny says Joy claims that Simon helped save the Pokemon Center. Which, he did. That's true. So he gets thanked instead. Team Rocket is glad they weren't down there, or they would have been arrested or caught in the electric attack. So they're just hovering over in their balloon watching what's going on. James says that Team Rocket won't be blasting off this time in another catching catchphrase. However, he's wrong. The thunder rumbles right as he finishes saying that, and lightning strikes, sending Team Rocket blasting off again. But no ding. Ash tells Simon maybe he needs to keep working on it, and he'll have a breakthrough. So Simon continues, and then we see him wandering somewhere, out in the wilderness, who knows, and he meets a Meowth that understands him, and he can understand the Meowth. Of course, it was just Team Rocket Meowth helping out his confidence or something.
Yeah, Team Rocket felt bad for his confidence for a while.
Yeah.
It was like, guys, it's fine.
And then I got some extra trivia for y'all. That relates to Simon escaping. Apparently, there was a 29-second scene, which, in a cartoon, that's a decent amount of time, that was taken out of the dubbed version that we got, that shows Team Rocket trying to rescue Simon by shooting rockets at the building he's in with the gangsters. It doesn't go well, and the last rocket sends Team Rocket flying. But I'm guessing somewhere in that commotion is probably how Simon got away.
Well, that's helpful.
Right. So there was some more explanation on his escape, I think. We just didn't have it. Because I guess they didn't want to show rockets being blasted at the building. I don't know.
Alright. Our Who's That Pokemon was Wooper. And our tallies are 1 interesting intro, 1 irritating interruption, and 2 catching catchphrases.
Woohoo.
Now let's rank it.
Alright, so this one was a very structurally sound episode that made a ton of sense. Didn't contradict anything, and so I think it's got to be like number 3. Just kidding.
I think I gotta punch you. Maybe throw you out that window.
Violence.
You'll survive.
This is why they take out the rocket launching at buildings. Violence.
You will survive. You've jumped out of trees higher than this, I'm sure. From my window to the deck?
Maybe. I've definitely jumped that distance before, but I don't know if it was out of a tree or not. Let's see. I did not like this episode that much.
Nope.
I don't know, maybe under a Dairy Tale ending, because I hate Unbearable.
I don't know what your problem with... Well, I
explained my problem with it.
If it was me ranking it, I'd put it all the way at the bottom, but that works for me.
We can put it all the way at the bottom if that's what you want.
It works for me either way.
I have a personal bias on Unbearable, so since that's my own personal issue, we can put the Poke-Spokesman at the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to put Unbearable when I was ranking it at, like, maybe number 11 or something, and you're like... Yeah, like that.
Alright, so that means that the Poke-Spokesman is our current number 38 out of 38.
Alright, now let's move on to episode 198, or season 4, episode 39, Control Freak, or Godubato Tai Kamen no Ju Musashi Isaki no Tatakai. Well, that's really long for 2 words. But they got 3 exclamation points. Oh, right. Next one. Golbat versus the Masked Queen Musashi. The Ruins Battle.
Alright, so Gorubato is Golbat. Common, I think, is probably Mask. Or no, maybe it's Queen. Queen, no Mask. Masked Queen.
I think Common's probably Queen.
With Joe being Mask.
Yeah, because then Musashi
is the name.
Musashi is. Oh, Musashi's the name?
Of the Masked Queen, yeah.
Ah.
Which I think, I almost think that's Jessie's name.
She does do a lot in this episode.
Well, she is the one who becomes the Masked Queen. I mean, there was an ancient Masked Queen, but...
Yeah, that's the one they're talking about.
And then Isaki no Tatakai is the Ruins Battle.
Wait, Tatakai isn't battle, is it?
Well, Batoru is battle, but Batoru is the Japanese translation of an English word. So Tatakai is the other form of battle, I think. Alright, so the gang are in the woods, by some water, and enjoying a meal. Brock is feeding his Golbat, and then it seems to sense something, and it flies off. So the gang go see what's up. They find a girl laying among some ruins, unconscious. When they wake her up, she looks all around for her detector and finds it destroyed. Brock wonders if it is a supersonic detector, and then, with lessons learned from Hassel in the Castle, he hooks up the laptop to his Golbat, because it was a supersonic detector, which is how the Golbat sensed something and ran over here, or flew over here. So the girl, whose name is Tierra, says she has been exploring the ruins, and Brock is a lifesaver because she doesn't have the funds to replace her equipment. Apparently a queen lived in those ruins and had a secret temple that is buried under the ruins. The queen was able to control Pokemon with a special mask and staff, without having to catch them.
Just like the Shekel episode, if you drink that juice out of the shiny Shekel. It's Spoopy!
Spoopy.
She was funny.
It was. I want a Rockin' reunion with Spoopy. Team Rocket is spying and listening in, and so now they want the mask and staff. When they find where the temple might be, they learn she has lost her digging equipment as well. So Brock solves that with his Geodude. Team Rocket needs to get in there before the twerps, and so Meowth produces the Dug Trio Digatron to drill them into the earth. So a new busted bot.
Dig the dig.
Trio. Team Rocket does get there first, and the room is huge. They find the mask and staff, so Jessie puts it on because it is beautiful, and so a beautiful person should wear it. Now she feels powerful, and she proves that she can command Pokemon by having Victory Bell come out and eat James. Which, of course, doesn't convince Meowth, as he voices the same thoughts we all had. Victory Bell always eats James. But then she makes Meowth dance. So, now there's some proof, because he doesn't want to. Then the gang shows up, and we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. This Pokemon always has the ultimate beverage for the sick or weary. Then we come back to a modified motto. That's right, not just an interesting intro.
Prepare for the worst trouble you've ever seen.
With the staff and the mask, Jessie's the queen.
I'll rule the world with power and might.
She'll capture Pokemon without a fight.
A queen whose subjects must all kneel down before me.
But I'll just kneel on one knee. And this seems related to an earlier comment where Jessie tells him to kneel, and he's all like, with my bad knees?
Jessie, Her Royal Highness.
James, her lowly... Hey, wait a second.
Queen Jessie ruling all with power and might.
You better surrender or she'll go on like this all night. Yeah, why fight? Tira pulls an Indiana Jones and says the artifacts belong in a museum. Pikachu is about to zap Team Rocket, but then Jessie pulls a catching catchphrase and says,
Pikachu, I rule you!
Jessie tells Pikachu to zap Ash, and Ash thinks that will never happen, but, Ash? Pikachu has been mind-controlled before.
And he's also zapped you before.
Uh-huh, exactly. Pikachu's evil expression is scary and amusing all at once. And then we get some friendly fire, because he does zap them. Team Rocket plan to escape, but the bot doesn't have a reverse. Brock takes this opportunity to have 3 Pokemon go rescue Pikachu, which includes the powerful and large Onix. Oh, Brock. Come on. Well, Pikachu just got zapped with mind control, so he sends in a giant Onix to go try to help. Onix is also going to get mind controlled, and that's going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw it when I watched the episode, but I did not just see it now. I was like, what? What's the problem? I'm so confused.
Jessie uses the staff to get Onix, Geodude, and Golbat under her control, but somehow Golbat fights it off and sends a supersonic at the staff, which makes it stop glowing. And then the Golbat starts getting in Jessie's face. Meowth is wondering why it isn't working on Golbat, and Tiara theorizes that the staff might work by sending out sonic waves itself, which would explain Golbat being able to shake it off and defuse it. But Jessie has Geodude punch Golbat away, and then she has Onix carry them all out with the Digatron. Brock tells the others to escape out of the tunnel Onix made, but he needs to find Golbat in the crumbled ceiling that occurred when Team Rocket left. The gang didn't leave, of course, and they all work to free Golbat when it's found, and then they hurry off. Jessie decides to have Pikachu wait at the hole and shock the twerps when they come up, but Pikachu zaps Jessie instead. So she runs, and Pikachu chases and crosses over some buried stones, and he becomes complacent again. This is repeated multiple times, where she goes out, says, hey, shock them when they come out, he shocks her, she runs back past the stones, Pikachu follows, and then he's like, oh, I'll obey again.
It's funny because he puts his arms up too. He's like, Pikachu! So cute.
Eventually, Ash and them come out and get to witness this whole fiasco, and that's when Tiara mentions that the tablet also says that the queen could only use the mask and staff within her village. The buried stones are the border, and so it won't work outside of it. So Team Rocket flees, because Jessie doesn't want to live there forever, and gets aboard their Digatron that has rockets and can fly off. Golbat flies after them, but the Digatron rocket is too fast. Until Golbat experiences another evolution, just like in Hassel in the Castle. Then Crobat shoots forward. This is fun as well, since Golbat is another Pokemon that evolves with high friendship, I learned. And we've gotten a few episodes now to show more of Golbat and that friendship growing between it and Brock, like with him being sick and Golbat keeping him in bed. And there was some in the last episode that we did too. Some of the episodes there showed some more friendship, I think. So they've been building towards this, which is really cool.
Also, if the Digatron has rockets, why didn't it rocket up the tunnel?
Because they're dumb.
Guess so.
Anyway, it cuts up the rocket, and Team Rocket crashes to the ground. The gang catch up, and Pikachu zaps Team Rocket and sends them blasting off again! Ding! Tiara is thrilled to have acquired the mask and staff and can take them to a museum. Brock wants to stay with Tiara, and Misty yanks him back by his ear in another moment of babysitting Brock.
Alright, our Who's That Pokemon? It's Miltank! And our tallies are Busted Bot, Modified Motto, Catching Catchphrase, Friendly Fire, Evolution, Gotta Catch 'em All, and Babysitting Brock. Now let's rank the episode.
Yeah, because we have a Gotta Catch 'em All because of the evolution, Golbat and a Crobat, so there's a new Pokemon in the team.
Well, this episode was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I liked it.
It's not like our new number one. But
No.
It's pretty good. Maybe right above a better pill to swallow.
Well, I guess that begs the question: do you like this one worse than Hassle in the Castle, where we got Golbat?
Oh, I think maybe it could be above Hassle in the Castle.
I don't know. I'm just
your
asking.
Thoughts?
I think it definitely fits in the same territory as Hassle in the Castle.
That's why I put it down there, because it fits in the same territory, so that's not helpful.
That's not true, because you didn't mention Hassle in the Castle. You mentioned a better pill to swallow.
I mentioned Hassle in the Castle in my brain.
That's lovely.
What are your thoughts? Is it better or worse than Hassle in the Castle?
Yeah, I don't know. The Labyrinth was kind of cool in Hassle in the Castle, but I really liked the antics with the mind control stuff, and the modified motto was great.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels very much in the same territory, so it could go above or below. I wouldn't be too concerned either way.
Alright, let's put it above Hassle in the Castle.
Okie dokie. And so Control Freak is our new number 11 out of 39.
Alright, now moving on to episode 199, or season 4, episode 40, The Art of Pokemon, or Doburu no Kiseki Asahi no Naka de Kagayaite, or The Miracle of Dobel, Shining in the Morning Sun. And they did 3 exclamation points, but this time the 2 exclamation points were the first part.
I thought it was usually the first part.
Oh.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. So, Asahi, that has to do with morning, because Asa, like my Asa and Asa Gohan. But Dobel must be the Pokemon, Doboru. Smeargle! Alright, so the group end up in a town called Whitestone. Team Rocket is spying on them, and Jessie loves the idea that the buildings might be all made of marble. Brock explains that the town is not made of marble, back with the gang, not Jessie, listening in on this, and it is just painted to look like it. However, 3 Smeargle are painting all over the walls, upsetting the townsfolk. These Smeargle each have their own color, which I thought was kind of interesting, since they don't usually, and the colors are red, blue, and yellow, like the games.
Oh, fun.
When the townsfolk go to deal with the Smeargle, the trio hide behind Ash and Co., making the townspeople think that they belong to the gang. They don't, but still, Ash and Co. are not going to let the townspeople beat up the Smeargle. Then an old man shows up and he says that they are his. The townspeople hold him responsible for the graffiti of his Smeargle, and he agrees and gives them a blank check to get things fixed up. Team Rocket spies on this, too. A reporter shows up and asks the old man if he is Jack Pollockson. Everyone seems to have heard of that guy. He is a very famous abstract painter. The reporter wants to get to Jack's place to show off his work, but Jack says pictures of art do not capture the essence. Then he says he doesn't use paintbrushes, but is Smeargle for his art, because their tails are paintbrushes. It seems the Smeargle are no longer inspired, though, and Jack says it has been a long time. Team Rocket decides to go steal some of Jack's art, as it must be worth a lot. Jack offers the gang to come to his place for some food and to clean up since they got painted on. They all admire the art, and Jack explains his view of art. Then the reporter shows up and knows he's trespassing, but he loves the art so much. Then Wobbuffet shows up, which lets the gang know Team Rocket is there. But Team Rocket is too moved by the art. Then they mold an interesting intro.
Your art evokes a lot of feeling.
And that's what makes it good for stealing. And at the end we get a Wobbuffet irritating interruption. Team Rocket intend to steal the art, of course, but then Meowth has an epiphany. If they steal something that valuable, then the cops will get them as soon as they try to sell the paintings. So they take a picture of a painting and run off to make fakes. Then we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. This Pokemon is the evolution form of a Weedle.
Wow, so mysterious.
Except that I want you to think back to the Caterpie question at the Cinnabar gym when trying to decipher what this ends up being. Team Rocket is out in the middle of nowhere with a giant photocopier and print a copy of the picture they took. I don't know where this is plugged in, but okay. Jessie tears it up and says they can't sell cheap copies. New plan is to go steal the Smeargle so Team Rocket can make their own art. Jack explains that he can't seem to see the subtle hues of color anymore. He thinks his time as an artist is drawing to a close. He seems okay with it, just a little sad. Then the Smeargle are caught in a net and Team Rocket leaves with them, while a Smeargle drips paint along the route they take, leaving a trail. Kind of like the Horsey did in that one episode with the Eevee.
Mm-hmm. Except ink.
The gang follow it. Team Rocket have all kinds of art supplies for the Smeargle, but they are just huddled scared until Meowth scares them into working. The gang shows up, and a battle is about to start. Then the sun begins to rise, and the Smeargle run off excitedly. So the gang follow. But Jessie tells her cohorts to let them go, and she thinks she can make the incomplete paintings the Smeargle started into something beautiful. Meanwhile, Jack directs his Smeargle as they paint the church, and they create a masterpiece of the town on the church wall. And Jack sees the colors he thought he lost. Then a storm comes in, and it washes the painting away, which makes all the townspeople sad. Jack is just fine with it, though. He got to experience another masterpiece and see his colors again. The gang get back to their journey, and then we see Team Rocket in their balloon, and Jessie is trying to think how to make the little pieces of paintings into a beautiful work of art. She wants it to become a masterpiece. But then Wobuffet accidentally smacks the stack of papers, and they fly off in the wind.
Whoops. Okay, who's that Pokemon? It's Beedrill.
Do you understand what I was saying now?
No.
About Caterpie? Does Butterfree evolve from Caterpie was the question in the Cinnabar gym, and the answer was yes, it does. It's true. When I thought false, because Caterpie evolves into Metapod. And now our trivia this time was, this Pokemon evolves from Weedle, which technically it does evolve eventually from Weedle, but first it's Kakuna.
Okay, well, I guess that's a little stupid then. Our tallies are interesting intro and irritating interruption.
So not a lot for that one.
Now let's rank it.
Alright, the Art of Pokemon. It was fine. I don't know. Not my favorite episode.
We're not really into art that much.
We're really not, are we?
We're gonna cry if we see something beautiful. I mean, like, if I see a good piece of art, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Stationary art. Technically, there's movies that are considered like works of art and things like that too, right? And those can bring out more emotion for me, I suppose. Even music to some extent.
I'm definitely in music.
So we do like certain kinds of art. Paintings don't usually do a whole lot for us. I can enjoy them, but they're not gonna move me. Or at least I've never experienced one that has.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've seen things that I'm like, oh, that's really good.
Let's see. So it would fit near the whole Dunsparce Deception, Fossil Fools kind of area again. Because I'm just not that interested in it, but it's not, like, offensive.
No, it's not bad. I think it'd definitely go above at least Fossil Fuels.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put it under the grass route then, I think.
Okay.
Alright, so the Art of Pokemon is our new number 34 out of 40.
Now moving on to episode 200.
Oh man, 200 episodes we've gone through.
We've watched 200 episodes?
Just imagine how I feel, because I have to go back through all of Kanto, Orange Islands, and Johto seasons again by the time we get to the Hoenn seasons to tally up things.
By the time we are completely done with the Pokemon seasons, you have probably watched over 2,000 episodes. Because you have to rewatch them all. I'm sure there's like 1,000 episodes.
Oh, that's right. I have to rewatch all these too. But I mean, I have to go back and rewatch the other seasons so that I can tally those that we didn't tally and retally some of the ones because we changed some stuff even in Johto.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And it's also season 4, episode 41. The Heartbreak of Brock. He's always going through heartbreak. Or Nidorina, Takeshi no Barairo no Hibi, and 2 exclamation points and 1 question mark. Or Nidorina, Takeshi's Rose-Colored Daze.
Alright, so the gang end up in a new town and can't find a Pokemon Center. Then Ash and Misty ask a girl if she knows where it is, but when Brock sees her, he says, "Forget about that," and starts flirting. And so Misty pulls him away by his ear in a babysitting Brock moment. The lady says there is no Pokemon Center in town, so the gang decide to camp out in a park, which turns out to be really nice and has running water. Then a Nidorina shows up and starts drinking out of the fountain, and its trainer runs to get her Nidorina because they need to go home. She trips and almost falls into the fountain, but Brock catches her. The girl sees Brock and is instantly in love, and her name is Tamaku, and she asks for the name of the dashing hero who saved her. She loves the name and the man it belongs to, and Brock is starting to get nervous. The girl explains to Brock that her name comes from a combination of names of Pokemon that make up her personality. Te for Teddy Ursa, Ma for Mareep, Q for Cubone. She says Brock should be something like X, execute, Bra, Abra, Cloy, Cloyster. So, X-Bracloy. As she explains this, she keeps getting closer to Brock, who keeps backing away. Then she uses a line of, "You don't have to change your first name, Brock. I'll gladly change my last name." Which makes me wonder, what is Brock's last name?
Obsessed with girls?
I think we only know Ash's last name, right? Because there's Misty, Brock, Ash Ketchum.
We don't even know any of their middle names.
Well, no, that's usual, though. And we know Gary's last name. It's Oak.
Oh, right, because Oak is his last name.
Yeah, Professor Oak, yeah.
I was like, Daddy. First name is not the last name.
All right. As she talks about marriage, Ash finds it weird to imagine Brock actually married, and Misty says, "You and I will be married someday, too." Ash nods, not thinking about it, and then freaks out. What I found interesting here is that Misty's line could just mean that someday the two of them get married to people, in general, when they grow up. Or it could be taken that she is actually saying Ash and her will get married to each other someday.
The way she says it sounds like they'll just be married.
I don't know about that.
Like, the way she says it, that's what it seems like, but she could definitely have different intentions.
The way she says it, it makes me think it's the other way, so maybe it's just the way we interpret it. But also, I'm pretty sure she does want the second one to be the truth.
Right, but, like, I believe that that's what she wants, but I think she's just like...
Well, if that's what she wants, that's going to color the way she's thinking and talking.
Maybe.
Tamaku's dad, a professor, shows up. Tamaku suggests they stay at hers and her dad's place, and so the gang all go there. Brock is all out of sorts as Tamaku gushes over him constantly, and she imagines their wedding, her in pink and Brock in a white tux. Misty is talking Brock up, like she really needs to do so, like she's already infatuated with him.
Pink dress and white tux is kind of how you and Mom looked for your wedding, isn't it? Guess Mom had more of a red thing.
It was red and white, yeah.
Still close.
Although if you mix red and white,
you get pink. That's exactly why red is kind of pink.
Right. Anyway, when Brock won't talk to Tamaku, Misty drags him off and has a new take on babysitting Brock as she tells him he should say anything because Tamaku is lobbing softballs for him to easily swing for a home run. So now she's trying to talk Brock into actually having a relationship in her babysitting moments. She says if he strikes out with Tamaku, he doesn't have a chance with anyone. Then there's an interesting moment where Misty asks if any of the girls that Brock has fallen madly in love with have ever fallen madly in love with him, which he says no. And Misty explains that it is much easier to like someone who likes you than someone who doesn't. Hint, 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 hint.
The way she keeps talking throughout this episode, she's in love.
With Ash. Brock asks how she knows that, and she freaks out and gets embarrassed and just says, it's what she's heard, which makes it obvious that she's lying. Brock even seems to know this and says, "Love isn't always easy, is it, Misty?" More signs to Misty liking Ash. Then we cut to the next day, and everyone is walking around the property with Tamaku and her dad. Then Tamaku thinks Brock could work with her dad. Brock is still not doing well in the talking department, and so Misty drags him off by his ear, babysitting Brock yet again. Brock has apparently been thinking that maybe a relationship should actually start with both people liking each other. That's a new one, Brock. Misty just yells at him to force himself to like Tamaku, who then shows up right in their face. She also thinks that it would be great if Brock had a Nidorino so they could raise their Nidoran evolutions together. Brock doesn't have one. Oh, but Tamaku is one raised up already for Brock. Then Annette covers the Nidos, and Team Rocket give us just their normal motto, actually.
Pathetic.
Turns out they caught a lot of Pokemon in nets, including Pikachu. A battle ensues, and it stops going well. James gets an idea and has Weezing use smokescreen. Team Rocket pulls the ropes that had the nets, and they take off and get away. But all the Pokemon are still there. Tamaku isn't, though, and Brock is the one who notices. After landing, Team Rocket are congratulating themselves, but pull up their empty nets. Except James, who pulls up a Tamaku. She almost falls out of the basket.
Wait,
and
so he really pulled up a Teddy Ursa, Mareep, and Cuba.
Right. She almost falls out of the basket, and James catches her, and now she's in love with James. She then thinks James's name should be Ma for Magikarp.
Which is just so perfect.
It is so perfect. Du for Dugong, V for Vulpix, Su for Sudowoodo. So, Maduvasu. When she says James could be her fiancé, he has a terrible flashback to Jessibelle. Tamaku imagines another wedding, but this time her dress in blue. The groom is still in white. Jessie sees an opportunity, and now she wants James to get married just like the last time. Because, she tried to force the whole Jessibelle thing to work out. When James explains they are part of an evil organization, Tamaku says every husband should have a hobby. So she just excuses it. Jessie explains the plan, and so James reluctantly agrees. Because they're just going to steal all the professor's Pokemon or whatever. Then we get our Who's That Pokemon trivia. Just touching this Pokemon is shocking. A search party is sent out to find Tamaku. Ash uses Noctowl to scout ahead, because Noctowl's still part of his team, woohoo! And finds Team Rocket's balloon flying by, and so it leads the gang there. Meanwhile, the Professor Dad is at home, and Tamaku returns with a disguised Jessie and James. Jessie explains that James defeated Team Rocket and rescued Tamaku, when some cool combat sequence that she describes. Meanwhile, Noctowl takes down the balloon, and they find it empty. Some clever thinking from Team Rocket this time around. Back at the house, Jessie and Meowth bag up a ton of Pokeballs with Pokemon in them. Jessie was going to leave, but now they're being fed, and James wants to leave, but Jessie doesn't want to just yet, because of all the food. Then the gang shows up, and Brock is aghast that Tamaku has a new fiancé. Misty thinks Team Rocket looks familiar? What? Misty sees through a disguise? She stares down Jessie.
She's been eating her baby carrots.
She stares down Jessie, pulls the glasses off her face, and then Jessie's hair springs free back into its classic style. Misty knew it was Team Rocket, for once. Team Rocket flees, and the gang chase them down. A battle takes place, and then Tamaku joins James's side for the battle, and she sends out her Nidorina. Then when James is about to be hit by Poliwhirl's water gun, Tamaku jumps in front of it and gets hit instead. Brock rushes over to make sure she is okay. Then Ash and Misty combine Pikachu's Thunderbolt and Poliwhirl's water gun into a devastating attack. As Team Rocket flies up in the air, Meowth has a catching catchphrase as he says that they were prepared for trouble and made ours double. And then Team Rocket is blasting off again! Ding! Back at the house, a doctor is tending to Tamaku, who is unconscious, and the Professor Dad says that they had recently been to a wedding, and so Tamaku was so excited about it that she can only think about getting married. Then Brock admits that he loves Tamaku. However, when Tamaku wakes up, she falls in love with the doctor. And she has another image of wedding, her in yellow this time. Misty says that Brock can't compete with a doctor. Oh, also the doctor proposes right on the spot. So he seems to be of the same mindset as Tamaku, so they might be a perfect match.
Well, I think he already had his eye on her for a little while, because we saw him a little bit early in the episode.
I don't remember that. Now for some trivia. So, when Tamaku comes up with nicknames for Brock and James, the Pokemon she picks are the same ones she brings up in the Japanese version. However, the Japanese names of those Pokemon, she takes out pieces just like she does in the dub, but they actually end up spelling out Takeshi and Kojiro, which are Brock's and James' names in Japan. So I'm guessing they weren't meant to be nicknames in the original version like they are in the dub, where she's like, well, your name should be this, and then throws in those Pokemon, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, oh, your name is this, so these are the Pokemon that must make up your personality. Just like her name is Tamaku, because it's not a nickname for her, is just her name. Oh, and also, Ko being the beginning of James' name, Kojiro, and Magikarp's name, makes me think that this is why we keep seeing him connected to that particular Pokemon throughout a lot of these episodes, like the Moltres episode. In fact, it makes me even more confident that when they got the real fortune book, and he saw what he really was, where he freaks out and we never get the information, but we all assumed it was Magikarp, I'm more convinced that it had to have been. Because he's often compared to a Magikarp.
Yeah.
In fact, he also gets sold a Magikarp once and almost another time. So, like, he and Magikarp obviously have a lot in connection, and I have a feeling it's because of that, how their names start.
Our Who's That Pokemon in this episode, it's Mareep. And our tallies are 3 babysitting Brocks and 1 catching catchphrase. Now let's rank it. Okay. I love this episode.
It was so much fun! And that trivia made it even so much more interesting to me.
I think it probably goes above airtime.
Okay.
The bug stops here was...
The bug catching contest with Casey and Togepi wandering off.
Maybe even above that. I think it probably does.
Okay.
What do you think? I don't want to put it higher than you want it, but I think it goes pretty high. Maybe even right below Power Play?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
It was an enjoyable episode, man. It didn't
it.
necessarily move anything forward, but it was just really fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The episodes we covered this week in particular, their positions are: the Poke-Spokesman is 41 out of 41. The Dunsparce Deception is now 36 out of 41. The Art of Pokemon is just above it at 35. Ringmasters is at 28. Sick Daze is at 24. Control Freak is at 12. The Wayward Wobbuffet is at 8. And the Heartbreak of Brock is number 3. And so then our final tally stuff this week. We have Babysitting Brock went from 15 to 20 because we got 5 this time around. We got 1 Busted Bot, which puts us to 6. We have 4 Catching Catchphrases, which puts us to 14. We have 2 Distracted Pokemon, putting us at 19. 1 Evolution, putting us at 6. 1 Friendly Fire, which makes it 4. 1 Gotta Catch 'Em All, which goes to 3. 7 Interesting Intros, going up to 33. 5 Irritating Interruptions, putting us at 12. 1 Modified Motto, so that's at 5. 1 Off Again, putting that at 7. And 1 Psyduck Sighting, putting that at 3.
Now it's time to give our Pokeball. What are the rules for the Pokeball again?
What was the most interesting or helpful or whatever Pokemon this time around? If we both pick the same one, they get a Great Ball instead of a Pokeball. I think I've decided on mine. It's interesting because some of these episodes didn't even really feature Pokemon, like the one we just covered. They're it has Nidoran and Nidorino in the title, and they have a role to play, but most of it was about the characters. All right, ready?
Sure.
1, 2, 3.
Quagsire.
Quagsire? He had one small moment, and you're choosing Quagsire? I mean, it elicited a lot of emotion for you, because you were super excited to see it. I get you. But Quagsire? Oh my gosh. I should have known that's what you were going to go
It was
with.
Quagsire or Wobbuffet is my main 2, I think.
Yeah, Wobbuffet is the one I chose.
Yeah, I was thinking you might have chosen Wobbuffet after I thought about it. What were your other 2 options?
My other 2 options were, I could see Snorlax, because he had a really fun episode where he was featured. Pikachu wasn't necessarily featured in any, but when he kept getting possessed and stuff and had the evil look was funny, and then he had another episode where he did some significant stuff. Oh, the interpreting one. He had a big role in that too. But then beyond that, there's the Dunsparce Deception, so Dunsparce.
Yeah.
Or even the Caterpie in that episode. I didn't even think about that until just now. Oh, and then Smeargle from the Art of Pokemon.
Really? You didn't even list the other 2 that I thought you might have chosen. I thought you would have chosen Golbat or Crobat. I thought you liked them.
Oh, Crobat. I forgot about that. Yeah, he was an option too. Oh, I love Crobat. Crobat was only for a little bit in that one episode because he just evolved. Golbat had some good stuff, I guess. But Wobbuffet was just so much fun in his episode. That episode was just so much fun, I think.
Now it's time for Pokemon cards.
Woohoo!
First, the sniff.
So I'm opening Scarlet and Violet Prismatic Evolutions? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
And I had a Leafeon and Glaceon in my pack. And we've technically opened some first, but this is the first time you'll hear us open them.
Mm-hmm. And I'm doing the same thing, except with an Umbreon and Espeon on front.
Alright. So my first Pokemon is Duraludon, Metal type. Its metal body is durable, but prone to retaining heat. It vents its heat from the slits in its tail. Black Belt's Training, supporter card. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX before applying weakness and resistance. Bronzor, metal type. They are found in ancient tombs. The patterns on their backs are said to be imbued with mysterious power. Professor's Research, with a picture of Professor Oak. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. Screamtail, ancient Pokemon. Psychic type. Glass Trumpet, item trainer card. You can use this card only if you have any Terra Pokemon in play. Choose up to 2 of your benched colorless Pokemon and attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of them. Holuka, colorless. Holuka live quietly without flocking together. They fight constantly with their natural enemies, noisy groups of Primeape. Oh, I got a second copy of Duraludon, but this one is a reverse holo. My other reverse holo is a Munkidori, psychic type. Ability, Adrenabrain. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon has any dark energy attached, you may move up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Munkidori keeps itself somewhere safe while it toys with its foes, using psychokinesis to induce intense dizziness. Ooh. And I got Terapagos EX, colorless Terra Pokemon.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then I got a basic water energy.
My first Pokemon is a Duskull, psychic type. Duskull's victims suffer an intense chill as the Pokemon siphons their life force away, glaring at them with its bright red eye all the while. Cottony, grass type. It shoots cotton from its body to protect itself. If it gets caught up in a hurricane-strength winds, it can get sent to the other side of the earth. Oh my. Litleo, fire type. The more a Litleo trains its body and spirit by battling mighty enemies, the hotter its mane will grow. Dracloak evolves from Dreepy, dragon type. Ability, Recon Directive. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand. Put the other card on the bottom of your deck. It's fire and psychic dragon. This Pokemon stores up energy in its lungs, then shoots it out. It takes care of Dreepy and battles alongside them until they're all grown up. Screamtail, psychic, ancient. Glass Trumpet.
Oh, cool.
Hawluka.
Yep, same as mine.
A reverse holo, area 0 under depths. Stadium trainer card.
Oh, area 0. We haven't got there yet in the game.
So maybe I shouldn't read the spoilers.
No, go ahead.
Each player who has any Terra Pokemon in play can have up to 8 Pokemon on their bench. If a player no longer has Terra Pokemon in play, that player discards Pokemon from their bench until they have 5. When this card leaves play, both players discard Pokemon from their bench until they have 5, and the player who played this card discards first. Another reverse holo, Fan Rotom, colorless. Ability, Fan Call. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. You can't use more than 1 Fan Call ability during your turn. There are several appliances that Rotom can inspirit, but the first one to be developed was the electric fan. Then my rare is Munkidori. Same as yours. Then grass type energy. Well, that's our episode. Routes Through Pokemon is a Hunterfield Institute production. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and other podcasting platforms. So go ahead, leave a comment, like, subscribe, rate, and review. We are also on YouTube at the Hunterfield Institute channel. You can also connect with us on Instagram at kinetic_card or X at HunterfieldIns. We also have a Facebook group called Routes Through Pokemon, where we will post our latest episode rankings and tally counts. And if you want to reach out, you can also email us at hunterfieldmanor@gmail.com. So next week, we will be taking a break from the anime as we catch up again with Serenity Sola and Rosella on their journey through Pokemon Crystal, and we will have Flame back as we cover the first 6 chapters of the Pokemon Adventures Manga.
Also, just for those that haven't heard and seen the post, we'll be watching the Pokemon Forever movie as we get ready to record an episode for that. That still won't come out for a few more episodes, but we need to get it recorded. And so if you want to watch along with us, I will be posting on X, like I've done with the last few, as we go through it. So if you want to join and talk about it or whatever, feel free to do so, as I experience the movie for the first time.
So thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next route.
Bye-bye. Sayonara. Part 30. A Crowd. "And I believe in fate," said a voice that was not either of the girls sitting in the grass. In fact, it wasn't a girl's voice at all. "Oh, and I really should thank you," the voice said to Violet. "You have a keen eye. Look what I caught." A Pokeball landed between Violet and Hanako, and out burst a Geodude. "I call him Boldy."
Actually,
Hanako started as she got to her feet.
you call her Boldy.
"Huh?" the boy replied intelligently.
Her. You know, your Geodude? She's a girl.
The boy looked at the Geodude and then at the pink-haired girl, still confused. "What are you talking about? How would you know?" Hanako shrugged.
She's more jagged. Males are a little smoother. Professor Elm thinks it has to do with blending in better with other rocks as a means of protection.
The boy stared at Hanako, and Violet thought she recognized the expression. It was the same expression Violet wore every time she had run into Hanako. Or the obnoxious boy himself, actually. "Professor Elm? What?" He turned to Violet. "Who is this girl?" But before she could answer, he looked back over to the pink-haired girl. "Who are you?"
Hanako.
"Okay, well, thanks, Hanako, I guess." He turned back to Violet. "So what are you two doing?"
What's your name?
Hanako chirped, seemingly oblivious to the boy switching topics.
Actually, I don't think I remember your name either.
She said to Violet.
That's because I never told you.
Violet thought.
Not sure I want to now either.
"Oh, sorry," the boy said. He reached out a hand. "I'm Trevor." Hanako gripped the offered hand and shook it excitedly.
Nice to meet you.
Then the two slowly turned their eyes to Violet and stared.
I'm not telling either of you my name.
Violet thought as she stared at a blade of grass she was toying with.
In fact, I think I need to get out of here. This is quickly becoming a crowd, and I would rather not travel with these people.
Still not saying a word, Violet gave the other two a quick smile and then started to climb back onto her feet so she could leave. The poor girl had forgotten that she couldn't put any weight on her injured leg, and Violet quickly collapsed back to the ground with a cry of pain. Trevor rushed over to her side, Hanako a moment behind. "What happened? Are you okay?"
She twisted her ankle when she fell off the cliff back there.
Hanako jerked a thumb over her shoulder to indicate the area she was talking about. "Oh, ow! Well, here, let me help you out." Both Hanako and Trevor started taking Violet's arms to help her to her feet, but she yanked them back hard.
No, thank you. I'd rather not.
Violet tried once again to get up, off the ground.
I'll just get myself to Cerulean City, and then I'll be
winced in pain.
Fine.
Violet stood on one leg with her other foot just touching the ground with the tip of her shoe. Her arms were stretched out in both directions to offer her some balance.
See, I'm all right.
The skeptical looks from the other two annoyed Violet even more, and so she started off to prove her point. She barely put any weight on the bad foot and quickly stepped with the other. But each step took great effort and caused plenty of pain. She looked back and saw the two watching her, uncertain what to do. After about 10 steps, Violet felt she was getting the hang of it. The pain wasn't going away, but it became familiar, and she thought she could handle it. Her progress was slow going, but if it meant she didn't need to lean on Hanako or Trevor, then it was worth it. Somewhere, during that last consideration, was when her good foot found a root sticking up out of the ground, and Violet was back in the dirt.
Ow.
She moaned quietly into the ground. Then she sighed heavily. She really didn't want to do what she was about to do, but her circumstances had beaten her. Closing her eyes and clenching her fists, she willed herself to speak the word.
Help.
What?
Hanako asked. It was a genuine question, as Violet had spoken it quietly, and she was still facing the ground. Violet's jaw clenched, and she said, a little louder,
Help.
Then after a couple of seconds,
Please.
Hanako and Trevor hurried over and helped Violet up, each of them draping one of her arms over their shoulders. The added presence of Trevor certainly made the mission of getting Violet to town seem a lot more possible.
Oh, this is much easier.
Hanako said.
Thanks for your help, Trevor.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I help? Especially after she helped me catch a Geodude.
That was nice of her.
Definitely. She isn't perfect, though.
No one is.
Sure, but I really don't like it when people cheat in trainer battles.
She cheated?
Totally! When she went up against me the other night...
Oh, for crying out loud!
Violet was fuming. It was bad enough to rely on Trevor for some help, and that he thought she had tried to help him catch that Geodude. But bringing up his idea of cheating in a battle was more than she could take. The entire trio almost fell when Violet stopped hopping along between the other two.
I did not cheat!
Hanako looked a little nervous and was able to step back since Violet had pulled her arms free. She was balancing on her one foot again. You totally did, Trevor argued. You used more than one Pokemon against my single Pokemon. Hanako gave a sympathetic look to Violet.
That is cheating, actually. If you agree on a certain amount of Pokemon, you should only...
But I didn't.
You didn't agree on a specific number?
I didn't even agree to battle.
Violet threw her arms energetically into the air and almost fell over again. She caught herself, but not before the other two started to lunge forward. They eased back slightly when it turned out she didn't need to be caught at that moment, but they both remained tense.
This jerk continued to try and block my path unless I battled him, and then when I got by him, he threw a Pokemon at me anyway.
And then you suckered me. You knew I only had the one, and then you just started throwing all your Pokemon at me.
What? I did not. You wouldn't let go, and so I tried to satisfy you, and it wasn't enough for you.
Because you did like one thing and were going to give up.
Yeah, because I didn't have the time and I needed to get going.
So you should have just finished the battle with your first Pokemon.
At the speed you were going, it would have taken forever.
So then you decided to cheat and toss in a second one? Hanako managed to nudge Trevor into helping her carry Violet again. Violet was too engaged in her argument that she didn't even really notice that she was being helped along, and she just accepted it. The poor, pink-haired girl just stared ahead, her eyes wide in disbelief at how the other two carried on all the way to Cerulean City. To be continued.